Stream Q&A. I'm Mick Solomons, the developer of the Starting Strength app, and joining me today from Japan, Starting Strength coach Alex Koseri.
How's it going?
Nice.
Okay?
You finally worked it out.
To wedge the mic. I feel like I have to look down at this thing now. But hello, I'm live. I live in Japan. I do coaching. We have an Alex Mitchell here with us too. How's it going, Alex?
Howdy. I don't have a jacket, so it didn't work as well, but oh well.
Yeah,
just hold it.
Getting there. And from Houston, Texas, Starting Strength coach Chase Lindley. G'day, Chase.
What's up, guys?
Chase was just telling us all before how he's lost 30 pounds due to the dreaded coronavirus.
Well, it wasn't only that. That kind of was like the cherry on top, but I think it was
Good
more
news.
so the overtraining.
More so the trying to PR your snatch while hitting like 9x5s on squats the same day.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, something like
That
that.
does not help.
Huh.
Chase, do you have like a public training log where people can see your programming? Do you keep that up anywhere?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
I think
You should put
No.
that on your. You should put that behind like a Patreon paywall, and then you'll just have guys who are squatting 185.
Put it on your
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.
It'll be awesome.
We were just talking about that the other
No, I think
day.
didn't you say the reason you don't do it is because you swear a lot, like when you're training, and it's just going to freak people out? Didn't we talk about this before?
Yeah,
Why not
the
do what?
starting strength
Not
community
the
really
videos.
is sensitive.
Not the videos.
Yeah,
just the
I
program.
don't really care about the videos because I yell and stuff all the time, but I can post my numbers. It doesn't matter. But I don't know. What I think I kind of don't want to do it for is that you're gonna get that gym bro who's like, oh fuck, he's doing like, 4x8s on the squats. Why isn't he doing a 5x5 like how Texas Method is written or some shit? It changes.
That's exactly
over
what I
time.
want.
That's the whole entire point. I
Yeah,
don't.
exactly.
I
That's
don't
kind of
want to
the-
have to run into that headache every single time I open up Instagram. I don't.
Yeah, you need at least 40 DMs saying, "Why aren't you on the LP? Did you even read the book?"
Yeah. Are you doing RPE?
There's some guy.
Oh God!
There's some guy on the YouTube comments on a couple of your videos, Chase. He's like just at you to follow Greg Everett for Olympic lifts. He's like, Greg Everett would change your life, man.
I don't even know who the fuck Greg Evans is.
Me too. Greg Everett.
They named that mountain after him. He's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, dude. Big deal.
I've got the usual jokers in the chat. Theodore, Jay Russo, Tahoe, all saying g'day. Tricky Trick
G'day,
696969 is in lockdown.
Nice.
That's how they do it now in Australia. 5-day lockdown if they have one case. So, yep.
Oh,
RIP.
seriously? Oof.
Tricky Trick.
Rip, dude. It's over.
And who was the other guy? They had a guy emailing me today about that.
Oh, I've got a client in Washington State here in the States which is under lockdown. So he lives on the border between Washington State and Idaho, and he just drives over to Idaho to go to the gym.
Smart man.
Yeah,
That works well.
so good job on the lockdown, right?
Yeah.
That went really, really well. That
He's
was a
super-
really
super-
clearly well thought out idea.
He's super spreading the Washington State
Yeah,
strain
he's going to be the
Idaho.
super spreader.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Tahoe's got a question for us. What is the most frustrating, annoying thing about coaching novices, or the most common mistakes on an LP in general?
That's two totally different questions.
Yeah,
I feel like.
I find one of the most frustrating is like whenever you see a guy or a gal walk in, it's like, oh fuck, you're gonna be really strong. From that first initial squat set where they just nail the movement, and like a week later they're squatting 60, 70 pounds more because you just keep bombarding them with weight, and then a month later they're like, this is hard, I don't want to do this. So you just see like this great.
So people giving up.
I've had
Yeah.
it's people giving up in general, but I can understand if like a person's like this weird amoeba pussy like person, but like a true athlete just walked in and you're just like, no, I don't want to do this anymore.
That's why I don't coach 20-year-olds, dude. Like, it's not worth my time to get you halfway through LP and then you decide you want to go do like booty, butt, and thighs or CrossFit or some shit. Like, it's really just not worth my time.
Was that your wife just laughing in the background there? I can see her through the hole in
We
your
can see
racing
her
car
through the
chair.
hole in the
Oh,
I heard something. I was like, oh, there's someone there.
yeah, she is lounging.
I would say the most annoying thing is people being frustrated when they're not good at it yet.
Yeah.
I think that's the most, because it's like for people just to be like, I just don't understand why I'm not getting better at the thing. And I'll be like, if I had the audacity to be like the fifth time I attempted to speak Japanese, being like, man, this language sucks. I am not good at it yet.
It does suck. It does suck though. They have
Be
two
like,
different
this whole
alphabets.
country blows.
3 actually.
3. Okay,
But,
well there you go. It sucks even more. Yeah.
Alex Mitchell.
Wait, they
fluent
have
in the-
3
in the
alphabets
glorious-
there?
They have
Character
3.
sets.
Writing system
Yeah.
involves 3
Right, yeah.
different writing systems. Yeah.
Wow.
A syllabet, an alphabet, and then a funky one.
Yeah. But I think it's one of those things where like perfectionism, a lot of people who start the LP, they'll really like it because, you know, it's a rigid system. There's a whole book behind it. You can get reasons for basically everything you want to that are really fleshed out. And then people expect themselves to be good at it, or it's just like nobody's really good at anything for the first few hundred times that they do it. So you just gotta have to like have fun with it and, you know, go along for the ride. I'd say that's my biggest thing.
Yeah.
What's the most common mistakes on NLP? Then?
But I would like to say for the most annoying things is the single most annoying thing I find is people wanting to, like, who've read the book and they're really into the thing, and they want to have all the answers for everything and make sure that every single piece of their program is exactly ironed out perfectly, but their squat isn't right. Yep. They're not focusing on their form at all. They just want to make sure that every little detail is fixed up, but they're not focusing on the things that actually matter. That happens all the time with me.
Yep. So what's the most common mistakes people tend to make on NLP?
Ooh.
If they're by themselves, I'm saying it's not continuously adding weight to the bar, especially as it gets heavier and later into the program. You kind of get satisfied with a number that you have. You know, maybe your first goal of squatting 225 or deadlifting. Yeah, deadlifting 225. That seems like a normal staple. No, man, push through that. Keep adding weight to the bar. Make it harder on yourself, and you'll be a way better athlete and better lifter in general.
Pursuant with that, I would say people thinking that you can like keep the weight low and work on form, whatever that means. Like it
That's a very good
because
point.
of the nature of the lift, of lifting heavy in general, is that you cannot work on it at a light weight. Perfecting the squat with an empty bar does basically nothing, essentially nothing, for your 305 squat set. It just doesn't help you. And people really, really don't like to hear that, and they usually, I feel like, have to hear that, experience it, find out it's true, and then come back and say, okay, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I reckon the one thing I found when I started it was just being in a rush to get my numbers up. How do you think there's a lot of people who sort of fall into that trap and they take shortcuts, you know, don't squat to depth or
And then get stuck.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think
I mean, it
think
depends
it's
on
part
what.
of for me, I think it's just a big part of like the perfectionism, anxiety. I think, you know, when we had Elle on, she was like, well, I want to feel like I'm winning at training, you know, where it's just like I think athletes are surprisingly good about this because they'll have competition seasons where it's like, hey, you know, for some of my grapplers, it's like, all right, we have 6 months of competition season coming up. You have 4 weight cuts within this. You're not going to set a single PR or close to your PR for the next 6 months while you're working on your conditioning and your technique and everything. But you're still going to go in and train, you know. And like having it be like when people are at the end of the LP and being like, well, if I'm not setting 3 squat PRs this week, something's wrong with me. And you're like, no, it's totally fine. We can add a light day. Nothing bad will happen, you know.
That transition really screws people. It's probably the most, I don't want to say dangerous, not like injury stuff, but like it's the most perilous part for mentality for trainees is that transition from LP to not LP.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's let's rock on with a video. Colin W.
You got to show the beginning here because that's where all the problems happen.
There we go. Oops. I need to move this out of the way. Yeah, all this stuff's in the way now.
First off, I'm so jealous because if I unracked 315 like that, it would break me.
Just on a light jog.
Just like...
Yeah.
What's this guy's name?
Colin W.
Colin, yeah. So definitely what Alex Mitchell was kind of pointing out. Clean up the walkout just a little bit. Make sure you're not rushing through it, because then you're gonna have problems establishing where your position is on your feet and your stance. Take a little bit of time. I mean, hell, this is pretty easy. I mean, the bar speed looks really good. So take a little bit more time, clean up the setup. Keep your chin down, eyes down. Try not to get so distracted by the mirrors in front of you. And I think the first few are a little bit high too. Keep shoving at your knees. Don't feel for depth, and just hit it.
Yeah, if I ever see anything in your upper body, like from the belt up, move when the bar goes from in the rack to out of the rack, that's a dead giveaway that you weren't tight under the bar. You want to really squeeze those shoulder blades together, get those elbows pinned together, and snuggle the bar into your back meat, and then you can slowly accept that weight of the bar, and you're going to feel like it's nothing. You're going to feel like you just unracked a 45-pound bar with no weight on it, and you'll be able to get way higher than this. This looks really light.
Yep. All right, Colin, thanks for that. Question from Crown of Iron, who I believe is in, he's saying 5-day lockdown in Perth, so no gym, potentially longer. Anything I can do training-wise, or just wait it out? I've had this question a few times now.
Totally.
But,
This is you, though.
A bunch of stuff. I mean,
talk about those
really,
pistol squats, bro.
It just kind of completely depends. I mean, like if you're expecting anything you do to have like a dramatic carryover to say like a barbell lift, it's not going to, because it's not going to be specific enough. But if you are going into like a month-long lockdown, you should just resume your training split as normal and replace the movements. So it's like, if your deadlift is a stone lift now, that's totally fine. Or if your deadlift is now being replaced by, let's say, like 20 sets of lunges and then maybe 15 sets of pull-ups, all right, that works. You just kind of have to hammer yourself with volume, because you don't have the loading required to make these specific strength gains.
Find a really heavy rock and do a clean and jerk with it. That will get you. That'll freaking get you.
Yeah, just do some physical labor.
Yeah.
Drive out into the desert.
Do some yard work, man. Like, that's a good conditioning.
I feel like
that's a great idea.
I have light memories. I could be hallucinating that Crown of Iron. You were a Australian football guy. I have no idea what that is still, but you just make this your conditioning block.
I'm pretty sure that's
out there and doing some volume
highly illegal. 36 men running around a field chasing a football after each other, grappling each other to the ground, rubbing their faces in their armpits. It's.
Yeah, go do some track drills and then have some fun.
Yeah. Brandon Nara recently made some tweaks to my squat. If you form checked a few weeks ago, resulted in some low back tightness, and now I've noticed a dull pain in my tailbone when squatting. Any thoughts?
Lots of thoughts. Yeah, so you kind of want to avoid this thing where it's like if you go to the mechanic and then you hear some weird noises in your car like a month later, and then being like, it was the mechanic's fault because they fucked with the last. In reality, you probably made some like mechanical changes to like what external torque each joint is seeing, and conditioning-wise, fitness-wise, strength-wise, whatever you want to call it, you weren't exactly prepared for it. So now you're saying, oh, hey, I'm getting some low back tightness and some dull pain because I'm actually extending my lower back. And I went from not extending my lower back the entire time I was squatting to now doing it with my working weights. So you may need to back off, build back up. It kind of really depends. Because if before you were going from like overextension to a more neutral back, you can have a little bit of a different scenario than if you were going from completely rounded to now attempting to extend it. So it's a very individual thing, but end of the day, it's probably programming if your form is okay.
Yep.
All right. Good work. Elle, our special friend. I only say that just because it seemed to... Everyone pulled me up on it last time. Friend of the show, Elle Noir. She reckons she's got her press sorted out. What do you guys think? We have another view of this as well coming.
I love it when people submit multiple viewing angles. That just makes my day.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's pretty wonderful.
It's pressing in jeans as
And
well.
the only issue, I love whenever people, they go to the gym like on like an upper body split, and it's just like a casual... Sunday they walk in with like a collared shirt.
You know what's going on here. She's about to head out on the town. She's getting a pump on. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Definitely.
I dig it. I love testing your textiles. Go for it. Yeah, I mean, I want to see some 2.0 action here. I would really like. I think you might be a good candidate for it. I'd like to see the abs a lot tighter. It's pretty good overall, pretty tight overall. I also want to see the bar come down a little closer to you, because you see, I mean, you've got this lovely little bar path tracker thing. A couple of these reps, the bar comes down way in front of your face.
How do you guys like to cue out that forward drift you're seeing at the end there? Basically just the entire system shifting forward. Do you guys like to cue that out at all? If you do, how do you guys do that?
I do, because I was about to point it out. So she actually almost loses control of her balance there.
Yeah.
She has the bar too forward at the top. If anything, try not to. I've heard this cue like in CrossFit and stuff, like where you try to open the window and shove your head through. I hate that cue.
It's horrible.
Think about just
it's
touching.
Just
Yes. Touch your bicep to your ears and think about just punch straight up. You're kind of wanting to, and this kind of goes back with what Alex was saying about like the tightness of the abs. I would go ahead and just wear a belt right now. The tightness of the abs is going to help you keep a little bit more balanced, and then also thinking of touching your biceps to your ears is going to solidify that top position.
That's exactly what I always say too. The biceps to the ears, or I'll like stand on their oblique and I'll say hide your ears from me. That helps sometimes, like any of those. But yeah, it is so hard to untrain people from pushing their head through the window. It's awful.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually never heard this window cue before.
Oh, are you
I dislike
serious?
it. I've never
Wow.
been
Oh, it's terrible.
affected by that.
Because you'll see them and they'll of course be pressing like 100 pounds or whatever it is, but they'll push it up and they go ugh, and then they get on their toes.
Yeah, okay,
and then they rock back as they bring it down, and then they press it up and they get on their toes. It's great. Seesaw.
Tahoe in the comments said he ends up on his heels a lot in the press. What should he do about that?
So I have a
Fortunately,
guy
it's
who,
actually a similar cue.
Yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
I have a guy. This is the weird thing that I'm starting to kind of notice is that a lot of the time people don't understand that the hips press, if you're doing the 2.0, it's all about a balancing act, right? It's a timing act too. So it's more so at the beginning a timing, and then later as the weights get heavy, it's a balancing act. But the timing, people try to rush the press a little bit too soon, and then they either leave their hips too far forward, or at the very end they somehow rock back on the heels because they left their hips forward. I think you need to kind of delay the press a little bit more and work on throwing your hips and tying the press into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. People forget
Go
that
for it.
there's the actual rhythm to it. It's not just you throw your hips and press. It's not hips press. There's an and count in there.
Hips beat
where that
press. Yep.
Hips and press. Hips and press. That's what I'll say to people. You can kind of snap with them for it so they can kind of like hear the
Yep.
rhythm to it. But if you don't let that layback bake for a second, you're just going to press into the layback, and what happens is your shoulders are still over your heels and your hips are forward, so you're going to fall backwards. So like let the hip throw bake a little bit more, reach with it, and then throw your shoulders out in front of it. That's normally what I go for.
Yep.
And I really love what Chase said about like when the weights get really heavy, you've got to stop. It's a balance problem. You've got to balance the bar over your body at that point. You've got to consciously stop that thing from moving around and force it to stay right over your midfoot at the top.
Yep. All right, there we go. Hardy, I think. Oh, this is the guy with the shoes.
Those shoes are badass.
Yeah.
Dude,
I'm glad someone
order
bought
like
them
3
again.
pairs.
They're nice.
I love them.
I can't, dude.
Well, I did that
Can
with-
you link me? Link me to where you find them.
I will.
I actually did that with the Nike Romalios too. I bought like 3 pairs of them.
Big spender. That
Are
was
they good?
$8,000.
Yeah.
Dude, I love those shoes. They're amazing.
What were the name of those shoes again, Alex? The ones that Hardy's using?
Adidas
3 Tokyo?
Powerlift Tokyo.
Yep. It seems like such a shame he's gone to the trouble of getting these fancy shoes and he's lifting on a fairly soft-looking pad. But I assume that's...
Yeah. Also, we can see his legs, like knee angle checks out, I suppose.
Apparently those shoes are on Amazon for anyone who's interested, according to Ben Lacasse.
Are they really? I couldn't find them. They might be thinking of the
You're-
Powerlifter 3.
Your Google foo is just terrible, Alex. You gotta
Apparently,
work on your
that could be the
Googling skills.
case.
This is where we need to get our
Just
Amazon
any
affiliate.
combination of Japan, Tokyo, Powerlift, Adidas, any combination of those words, you'll find them. I don't mind these deadlifts. I think these are like
Adidas.
light warm-up pulls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to see
Too
a little
light.
bit more. One, I think he's a little bit too close, and two, he's kind of not extending his knees enough. Step back just a little bit. Make sure that you're putting that metatarsal strap underneath the bar, 1 inch away, and then kind of cue yourself quads, right? Because some people think whenever you tell them push your knee through the floor or push your feet, they still don't understand it. But for some reason, I've found this out lately that if you kind of point or mash on the quad and say drive this through the floor, it kind of really helps.
I like that.
All right. Mick, next video.
Oh, we're done, are we? All right. Thought we want
Yeah,
to
I
talk about
can
the
keep
shoes a bit
talking
more. I
about it.
was looking for the shoes on Amazon. I found them already.
I am too, dude.
Those are also-
I swear to God,
There's red and
Google
blue.
is Google does not want me to find it. I just Googled Adidas Tokyo weightlifting shoes. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Powerlifting.
Powerlifting. That's
We-
why.
Stealing a joke from one of my clients. She said, whenever I lift, I power lift because I use a lot of power when I lift.
Oh yeah,
I
dude.
love it.
Clearly.
Just a very
Yeah.
confident, very powerful lifter.
All right, so we got Mark. I think we had Mark on last week, and
Not it.
who wants this one?
Chase is the nicest of all of us.
Is he? I don't know.
Mark, one, you got to find a new gym, and if they don't have plates that are lighter than a 45, to where you can accurately have the height of the bar where we need it, that's a big issue. If anything, if they don't have plates there that are like that, I kind of see a rack behind you that have somewhat adjustable pins. Set that up and practice from that, because this is just kind of shit, man. It's hard.
That was a
setting
curveball
it
at
back
the
down
end.
in the proper position. Yeah. I was
It was
being
super
nice,
nice
at the start,
advice,
but now
and then it was hit him
yeah.
with shit.
Yeah, this is shit, man. Like the bar is several inches, forward of the midfoot. Your back is in extension. You're kind of just doing like this weird row, essentially, with your body.
Yeah, I think Mark submitted his squats last week, and I think he had sort of similar issues, and I think we pretty much just told him to go and sort of go back and watch the videos on startingstrength.com about how to squat, how to deadlift, and really just start.
Yep.
Because there's not a
5
whole lot.
steps.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot we can do with this, unfortunately. It's yeah. Anyway, Mark, let us know if you're watching or if you've seen these. Let us know and resubmit your videos after you've done that, and we'll take another look at it. And that's a ripping haircut he's got there as well. I got to say,
It's a lot, man.
there's a
Sure
lot
is
going
a
on
lot.
there.
For sure.
Right, got a couple of questions, I think. Tahoe Affleck said, Chase told me I was lifting 0 pounds. I don't know about nice. I think I remember that comment from a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Pressing starts at 135.
Yeah. MJDC, any advice on conditioning in the absence of a prowler? Or thinking about things that you can do in a Globo gym? I'm taking longer and longer between heavy work sets, 5 minutes with squats, and I want to stop that trend.
5
MJ,
minutes
if you
between squats,
lose
that ain't long.
if you lose absolute body fat, you will have better conditioning for that. I would say you're a pretty fluffy guy, so if you chop off 5%, you'll feel better all around. But 5 minutes, I don't think is incredibly long for heavy sets of squats.
Nah,
You
dude.
know.
Definitely
No,
not.
no.
Fuck no.
Definitely
just
not.
just
Have you
the
seen
oxygen net that
powerlifters
you're
in the
using.
gym?
Yeah, it can take a hot minute, but just the literal oxygen debt that you're incurring from having like a long rest, or from having a heavy set of squats, it's not that much to ask for 5 minutes, But if you do have to do some conditioning, literally any of the cardio machines, man, just go on it. Start with 10 minutes at the end of your session. It's not going to kill you,
Yeah.
I was just laughing because I saw a video a couple of weeks ago about it's just one of those ones taking the piss out of powerlifters, and the guy does 1 rep of 135 deadlift. Then he like folds out a camping chair and just puts it next to the bar and just sits.
Oh man, I used to work at Crunch, which is a public gym down here, and there was a whole contingent of powerlifters where it was just social hour. And I mean, I would be there until like 10:30 at night. They would get in at 3 or 4 p.m. and they wouldn't leave until I did. It was amazing. It was incredible just how long they took to work out.
That's true friendship, man.
Yeah, dude. It was their whole evening. That was the evening. What else would they do?
All right, Matsy. I reckon we had Matsy on a couple of weeks ago too. That wasn't very subtle, whoever did that.
All right, Matt. Fuck it. Matt, I think you're looking a little bit too close to you. I want you to look up a little bit more. You kind of have a long torso compared to your femurs. And then as you're coming up, drive your tailbone, right? Sometimes the hips can be ambiguous for people in their brain. Drive the tailbone. Sit back a little bit more at the bottom. Eyes up, drive the tailbone.
Also, I think he's starting way on his heels. I think he needs to start mid-foot, right? But I think he's on his heels for all these. You can see the toes coming up at the end, but I think that starts at the beginning. I think he's just not over mid-foot right now as he's beginning the lift.
Okay. Yeah, I think the council agrees.
Nice. All right, we'll rip one more video. Mel Sitnick. Let's see what she's got playing in the background today. Reggae again.
This was such a 360 no slope. Yeah. She went from like rip only to now just reggae only. Those are pretty opposite.
Super opposite.
I
want Rip to start a reggae band though. This is what I want now. Wow, that was a good grind.
He may have that as some guilty pleasures. That may be his guilty pleasure musical genre.
I could totally see it.
Yeah.
Chase, can you confirm Rip listens to reggae?
I think he hates it.
Does he have any sort of like guilty pleasure musical genre that you know of, Chase?
Does he watch anime or something? God, that would be wonderful.
No. He's
his guilty pleasure.
Beatles fan. I hate the Beatles. I think they're just cheesy as fuck, and they're not really anything special. But he's in love with the Beatles. We got into a heated conversation about Prince one time. He thought Prince was dog shit. I was like, how?
What?
Prince is a great
one of the
guitarist.
Greatest guitarist of all time.
He's like, well, have you listened to one of his songs? I'm like, yeah, I listen to his songs all the time. He's like, listen to him. And I'm like, I listen to him.
I do, dude.
Listen to them correctly.
Yeah, he's just like, it's too poppy. He's like, you need to listen like how I listen. I'm like, well, okay. But
who's that? Who's that? He's got a whole bunch of DVDs in his office of some like really crappy comedy series about what's that guy's name? It's like Edward Goes to Camp or something. I can't remember the guy's name. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Oh,
There's
shit.
The whole series
I know
of movies
exactly
by this
what
comedian.
you're talking about.
Who is it?
Shit, what
Ernest
is
or
that?
Norbert or... There's a whole series of this. He's like a comedian. He's like a comedian. He's got a series of movies.
Ernest.
Yes.
Ernest, dude.
That's the guilty pleasure, those series of movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
That dude's hilarious.
Yeah,
he's really not. He's terrible.
Well, for people of a certain age, that's like what Scooby-Doo would be for me.
Mick,
that's
have
some
you seen
nostalgia,
the one where
dude.
it's the Ernest one? And it's like in the Great Depression or something like that. It's a poor.
Yeah, Rip showed me that one. He showed me that one when I was there.
Where he's like, make sure that you eat your plate, and on the plate there's nothing because they're poor. And like the son is like this huge mongoloid, like giant kid, and he's 13, but he's like 6'3", 285. He sits down, and like the kid just like goes to ham on this empty plate, and then Ernest kind of turns around to the camera and he's like, "There's nothing on the plate, but the boy keeps growing. I don't know what the hell is going on."
So it's funnier when you tell the story about the movie than it is actually watching it.
Oh, that's great.
Let's get back to Mel's deadlift.
All right, Mel, push through your toes. You're kind of getting on your heels here. This is very common whenever the bar is getting really heavy or the deadlift is. Push through your quads, get your toes down, and then make sure that you're setting your back. For the most part, this is fairly good. You're just kind of getting back on your heels.
This is when I cue chest up.
Right around the corner.
I
would just be more patient at the bottom. That's all. Just take another second to kind of charge up your brace, and you'll be fine. I think these are very solid.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, Mel's doing great. She had a bit of a rough year, so it's good to see her getting these numbers up.
So is this her garage gym? Because that's a pretty badass like mural in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not kidding, dude.
She's got another one on the other side as well. I think sometimes we see it when she's she films from the other side. But yeah, she's got some good stuff going on there.
Really cool.
Elle just jumped into the chat and she just said, "Sorry, I missed my form check. Thanks so much for the tips." And Chase nailed it. CrossFit taught me to push my head through the window. So there you go.
Good call.
Yep. Up next we have Phallet. And there's we may have to censor out some of this video if there are any kids watching. As this appears to be some sort of rape going on right now.
You need to have the
and we have
the Pornhub jingle on your soundboard, dude. Oh right, there's a guy pressing here. Totally forgot about it. Oh man.
All right, short notes: elbows forward, knees tight. Spay and neuter your pets, please. That's it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it is really hard when you got a little weight on you and you're just starting out the press to get into this position where your like bicep is fused to your pectoralis and you're like jacking that in and up. But it's super important. So I would focus on that more than anything else. Just make sure you unrack like that too.
A lot of good videos on it. I think the one I would recommend would be if you just look up like press grip Nook Delgadillo starting strength. There was a recent one he did at the Wichita seminar at the end of 2019. That one I think is the best video on it. Just kind of explaining, even for someone who doesn't have like great mobility to kind of get their elbows in the correct position. I would start there.
Yeah.
And then like literally like flex your knee, like squeeze your quad as hard as you can to the point where you think it's going to cramp, and then that's how tight you want it to be for the set. But you won't have to keep it like that always. You just need to learn to keep it static when you start.
The biggest trick on the unrack that people don't do is first of all, you need to get tight in the unrack, right? You've got to get just like that. The biggest trick people don't do is you need to bend your knees like a lot. Keep your torso straight up and down, but you bend your knees a lot so you can shove your elbows under the bar and forward of the bar. Keep your wrist nice and straight. 15 degrees extension, all that business. Keep your wrists nice and straight, and then you just stand up like you're standing up out of a squat and step back, and you're already here. You don't have to fiddle with it afterward.
Yeah. I think getting the bar in his palms as well might be a bit helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of see there that's sort of way back.
Yeah. All that.
You can kind of see he's telling the dogs off as well right at the end. It's like turn around, you see the one, the rapey.
And now they're fine.
Like, what are they doing? What?
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, let's continue on. Thanks, Phallet. MJDC, who we were just talking about before, he asked a question about the Prowler.
I love the Prowler so much. I miss the Prowler.
Me too, dude. I wish I had a Prowler. Oh well.
I feel like you're being sarcastic, Alex.
No, I really do. Dude, there is nothing better for older folk than the Prowler, because there's zero barrier to entry and there's almost zero risk of anything happening to you. I mean, if you do like the stand up, just push it along, you can get a great heart pump, and there's just no risk. Just don't have them turn it.
Yeah.
That's the trick. You just get one of those two-sided, and you just have them walk around, push, walk around, push, walk around, push.
MJ, man, you got to set your low back and think about pushing again from the toes. You're loading your heels a little bit too much, and kind of going to piggyback off of what Alex said on the previous deadlift setup with Mel. You're kind of rushing it just a little bit. Oh, is this another view?
Yeah, he said. I think he's saying that video is an old one, so this is the latest one he sent me with a different. I think Alex said he wanted to see a front view.
Oh, because of his knees. That's right. I remember.
Right off the bat, I think this may be a little bit
widen
too
your
narrow,
grip a little bit.
Too narrow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just widen the stance even too.
Yep. Yep. Got to fit your belly in there. That's the big problem. So you got to widen the grip a little bit, which kind of sucks, but you got to widen the stance a little bit to fit your belly in. Or you could do like a duck stance, but I don't know if that's necessary. But, yeah, that'll help you out a lot. But it's just like Chase said. You got to set your low back.
Right. Okie dokes. Let's keep rolling along. Thanks, MJDC. Pulkit Jain.
He was squatting last week.
He was.
I remember. Yeah.
Dude.
He's also using Versa grips on his deadlift, which is a powerful
I don't know.
You do not see that often.
That's a fact. That is a fact. I don't think it's worth reviewing because this guy's dead. You see, he's rounding his back. He died. I'm sure.
Now.
His spine just disarticulated. He's never going to lift again.
R.I.P. Pulkit.
Yeah, and I think that whenever people shit on starting strength for asking for a set lower back or even just to set most of your back, and we'll be like, well, there are efficiency consequences. Look at lockout, and people will say, no, rounded backs are fine. We can see it here. Like, the lockout is the hard part because, he's pulling off of a fishing rod. It's just like, could just more strength solve the issue with this form? Absolutely. But, like, with the amount of strength that he has, could he have a better lockout if he set his lower back in the first place? Yes. That's why we asked for it in the first place.
And more importantly, the muscles are probably not getting as much volume because they're not really contracting. Like, those spinal erector muscles are not contracted. If they are contracted, they will probably get more volume to them.
That's
Stronger spinal erectors are better.
Hot takes here. How would you guys go about fixing this one outside of my ranting about politics?
He just needs to focus on setting his low back. I mean, I think it's just one of these things where he's just never felt what back extension feels like before. So, you're going to be at the bottom, get the weight in your hands, just have 135 on the bar or something. Squeeze your belly at the ground, try and turn your back into a soup bowl and try and open your chest up at the wall in front of you like it's a flower, like blossoming like this. And that you will eventually get there. It's just going to take a lot more time than you might be willing to take right now at the bottom, and it's going to feel really awful. It's going to feel like you're in a pressure cooker.
I may make him just go ahead and rack pull.
You think so?
Like 2 sessions or so, because you can you tell people that, like, shoving the stomach in between the legs and all that stuff, and they still just have a hard time. And this guy seems like he does not know what back extension is.
Yeah, he's never done it before.
Go ahead and just make it easier. Yeah. So I'd go ahead and make him rack pull for like 2 sessions and do it.
I was just going to ask you guys this. So whenever you have a hard case on lower back extension, what is your relative mental timeline for when you expect that to get sorted out? Like, how many sessions do you think that normally takes lowering that range of motion or even, taking weight off the bar to work that through?
Depends on my hypothesis as to why it's happening. If it's weakness, it's going to be a while because sometimes the lumbar spinal erectors are literally just, with my clients especially, like just atrophied. And that is going to take some time. But with this guy, I mean, he could, once you teach him how to do it and get that, it's like it's a neural connection more than anything. Once you myelinate those pathways and the brain figures out, oh, I can actually use these muscles, then it's, maybe a week, 2 weeks, and
how
back
long does
to
that rack
full
pull
weight.
Progression last for you, Chase?
Usually about a week. So let's say we have them off at just below the knee or even slightly above the knee, depending on how bad their back is. Do a set of 5 there, and then next time they're in, go half half that distance down, so like mid shin, or even slightly above mid shin, and then pull a set there. I would even probably even keep the weight high, maybe not even drop the weight at that point, so that they're really even working harder, and that they have to realize, oh shit, this is heavy now, and I have to really set my back. And then if they still are kind of having trouble with it that last day, probably repeat the same height and go up just a little bit, and then they should be fine to pull off the floor.
Yep.
Just get up on that mic a bit more, Chase, if you could, please.
Gotcha.
Just hang on to it. It might be the easiest way. All right, Pulkit, there you go, man. Next, that's the way. Rolk, our old buddy Rolk.
I think we're being bamboozled, dude. I think Mick's got us all turned down, and he's just like...
No, you're coming through loud and clear.
No
Alex
shit.
Mitchell. Yeah.
This is a power move, I think. Where his belt is. That is a huge...
What? He's got
Walking around
his
the
belt
gym.
on, like, below his chest. That's
That's
amazing.
awesome, man.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Jesus.
Look at that,
Oh,
dude.
wow.
I think...
How has he
I
not
think
got
you're right.
cracked ribs?
I've actually seen
That
this. I've seen
is
this
pure
on
dominance.
one other person. I've only seen this on one other person, and it's a female, and it's literally like a bra. It shows up her tits.
Yeah, it's like an an
yeah.
underwire or something.
But she's also has like a way shorter torso than this guy. So
Yeah, that's the thing. This guy's he's almost showing off that he has like that much torso that he can.
You know what he's got to do? Do you guys remember like the high school football crop tops where they would just cut the bottom of the shirt off?
Yes.
Yeah, he's got to do that plus the really high belt. Just going around the gym. I think that's the move here, Rolk.
I think you're right, Kay. I think this is
His crop
totally to
top.
assert. It's to assert dominance. Like that's what he's doing.
I mean, if you look at the other people at the gym, I don't think he really needs the belt.
You know, you're not wrong. Yeah.
no.
I would move the gaze up and then try to get your chest to follow your gaze. You know, so like people will people will say that like the head position of the deadlift's not super important, but the chest normally follows it. So if you have someone who's looking basically straight down in front of them where they're looking for the squat, their chest is going to stay there too. So get your gaze out, pick your nose up a little bit, and then try and get your sternum to follow that point. You may actually have a harder time getting thoracic extension just because of where the belt is. Right, so that may be kind of pulling on everything in kind of an unflattering way. So I would just take the belt off if you don't like it any lower than that, and then focus on thoracic extension from there.
How has this guy not got bruised ribs or just every time he does a rep?
You don't know that he doesn't, dude.
Yeah.
You don't know. I've had people who come to me and they're like, "Oh yeah, my belt bruises me every single time I lift." It's like, but you didn't think that was important to. Oh well. Yeah, if we want to crap on CrossFit a little more, that's another cue that I get a lot of people from CrossFit with, which is imagine that there's a pin in your head and it drives all the way down your spine, and you're like, you need to be perfectly neutral there, so they look straight down, and then exactly like this, and the head comes up as the body comes up.
I think that actually it's beneficial whenever they tap and go deadlifts.
Could be, dude.
Because they just don't really care about getting into super great extension because the weight is just so light that they just want to bounce it off the floor accurately. I think that's that's the only argument I could see for them using it, but otherwise it's just stupid.
Yeah.
I got a question from Theodore. When pressing layback style with a belt, are you supposed to feel it in your spine a bit?
Chase?
Oh yeah,
how's
you're gonna break your
spine
back,
feel?
man. You'll break it back.
That's gonna snap.
But then
in
you're
half.
gonna break it over and over and over, and then it's gonna heal, and it's gonna turn into like Wolverine's back, where he has ultimanium or whatever the hell the metal is in his back, and you'll be good.
Yeah.
Or he'll be just doing dumbbell presses in a wheelchair. It's either.
Yeah, or you just break.
One of the two.
But then, I mean, you weren't worthy, so...
Yeah, and you need to buy like one pair of shoes for the rest of your life. The savings,
Power lift fours.
Yeah, the starting strength squat shoe. That's the only pair.
We're not allowed to talk about that. No one's allowed to mention that.
So no, so if you're feeling it in your back or your spine or whatever, it's probably how you're throwing your hips. You're probably literally just laying back and not actually using your hips enough. Think about the hips being lower in the sense that you have to push your quads forward, your knees forward, or something of that sense instead of, laying back with the shoulders and pressing.
Yep. All right, Theodore. A couple more videos. Ryan Odom.
I feel like the bar is like 1 inch away from the garage door.
It does look pretty close.
On the
It's
far
giving me
side.
severe anxiety. Yeah.
I'd start by slowing everything down, Ryan.
Couldn't agree
Slow
more.
the whole descent process down. Like, it doesn't need to be a fast movement, and this is really light, so it's just like there's a lot of stuff going on. Like, the bar's in the high bar position. Descent is super speedy. I would just kind of go back over our squat material, either through the book, through the app, or through the YouTube channel, and then just make everything really mechanical and try to evaluate the processes that's going on, right? So we need you to lean over on the descent. We need your knees to kind of freeze in place right out over your toes. And then you're doing a good job of driving your hips up out of the bottom, but you're not going to be able to really make anything consistent or replicable unless you're actively slowing that descent down. Because right now you're bouncing into a different location each time.
Yep.
Ditto.
Right, Ryan. Oh, the old CrossFit t-shirt too. Nice.
Ye old CrossFit.
The oldie CrossFit. Mr. Stixford from Norway. Obviously, lockdowns ended there.
I haven't seen that color for lifters before. Another power.
Pretty hot.
No, we've talked about this
Similar
before,
to
Alex. My colour
Where have
blindness
you
is...
been?
Yeah, my colour blindness is telling me those are pink, and you're saying, no, those are orange. I remember this.
Those are like
Those are-
salmon colors.
Definitely pink. Yeah, they're not orange.
They're pink.
They're definitely pink.
Okay.
But yeah, Stixford or whatever your name was. Just thoracic extension. Just squeeze your elbows down, aim your chest up. Do you guys agree? What other things are you guys seeing?
I think his toe angle is a little wide, but that could be just like, and maybe his stance is a little wide. Oh yeah, the audio is awesome on this one.
Ja.
We gotta wait for it to loop back to hear the Elvish.
Exactly, dude.
Yeah.
Där vill han vill att jag ska filma.
I mean, I agree. I don't know about you guys, but clearly.
Och jag tyckte så om jag var färdig, skönner du?
We all need to move to Norway, I reckon.
Oh yeah,
It just
dude.
sounds
Oh,
on
yeah.
the verge of being made up.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it sounds
Yeah,
like
it sounds like if you
English,
backtrack
but in
something.
reverse.
Yeah, if you backmasked something, exactly.
All right.
I would think maybe the stance is a little wide or the toe angle is a little wide, but other than that, yeah, exactly what Kay said.
Okay. Mr. Stixford. Good to see him back at the gym. Strong Moomin.
I haven't seen this guy in a hot minute.
Nah, he's... Yeah, been a
This
few
is at
weeks.
Bob Santana's place.
Yeah,
Weights and plates.
dude. I
Bob
want to go
Tana.
there one day. Bob Tana.
Why is he getting form checks from us when he's at Santana's gym?
Yeah,
right,
no shit.
dude. Kay, I know we've talked about this before. It's the he's not doing it as much, but it's the lean back into the hips as part of setting the back, as part of just initiating the lift.
Yeah, I think he's starting a little bit forward and then rocking back to midfoot. I don't care about that
Yeah.
too much. I would just work on the descent, man. You're just beating the hell out of your knees. I would shift that to higher on the priority. And then we're seeing the bar being knocked away from his shins a little bit by the end of it. But I think that's just because it's really heavy for him. I think that's
Yeah,
just
you wanna-
bar's heavy jitters.
You want to lock the bar against your legs and then shove your ass back without thinking. Don't think about bending your knees. Your knees will bend, but don't think about it. You don't have to. It'll figure itself out. Just shove your butt back and stick the bar against your knees and let it like slide down your legs, and it'll go right where it needs to go. Honestly, all you have to do is get out of the way. The bar knows how to go down in a straight line.
Yep.
Do you think that's... do you think some people have sort of listened to Ripito say the bar should never leave, should always be touching your legs? Is that sort of
Yeah.
taken a little bit too literally sometimes?
Yeah, well, people try to then like put the bar down, and you want to bend your knees when you put a thing down. That's just like seems to be how people like to put something down, and they exactly what you said. They take it literally that the bar shouldn't leave their legs, and so it does exactly what it's doing here. Ski slopes off.
Alrighty. Thanks, Strong Moomin. Tahoe from Mexico. Our little drug lord
Paraguay,
friend.
man.
No, it was Mexico, isn't it?
No, it's Paraguay.
Yeah,
This is the-
We had this exact same
this
conversation.
Is the
It's like
30th
deja vu.
time.
No,
works
he's
for
from
a-
Mexico, but he needs
He works-
he needs to move back
Yeah.
to fucking
Nah, man.
Paraguay.
This dude's like, he's Finnish or something.
Yeah, he works from a parentheses legal business.
I don't believe you because they don't have
Tahoe
sun
says
in
we
Finland
saw
right
this
now.
last week.
What?
Yeah, I felt like this was exactly the same.
It's North
Because
Mexico.
this was the one where it was really good and we almost had nothing to say, and then he walked
he
it into
walks
the
it back
pens
in
and we
at the
said,
end.
"Oh wait, no, we spoke too soon."
Let's see if I've got another video of Tahoe here. I think we do have a. Yeah, I think I do have a new deadlift video for Tahoe. Let's see. I'll pull this up.
Just skip to the end. Make sure he doesn't walk it back into the
I
pens.
think this is
That'll
the
be
last
form
rep.
check.
Yep, there it is.
There it is.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
All right, Tahoe. Is this the latest one?
Alrighty. Whoa, haircut. Right? Am I
And some
crazy?
Shorts.
Oh yeah.
I think he just had a hat on before.
Was that stuff too?
Oh okay.
I don't
Like
think
that
this
little
is him.
shelving?
This is somebody else. But this is Tahoe,
No.
but it's his video, but it's somebody else, I think.
No, this is the same guy, man.
Is it?
Yeah.
Same shirt, dude.
And body.
I think
also.
you're Tahoe. I think you're dropping your ass a little bit too much. Keep your ass up a little bit higher. Everything else is
Yep.
pretty good.
Yeah, dude. These are pretty good.
He's saying this is an earlier one.
Oh, okay.
Man.
Well, you fixed it.
Fine. Let's have a look at Tahoe's power clean. Let's see if you're satisfied
Oh,
with
here
this
we
one, Tahoe.
The
Alrighty.
camera's just getting farther away each time, which I like.
Yeah, and the weather's getting worse.
And that barbecue is a lot bigger than I thought.
It's a lot, dude.
That's a big wall too.
Mm-hmm.
What's he scared of? Reckons he's in a legitimate business. Why does he need a wall
Dude.
that big?
Question is, who paid for it?
Who built it?
All right, Tahoe, we
Chase?
have the classic arm pull, man. It's kind of hard feeling it on yourself, but if you do this, if you grab your arm, right, you grab your wrist, you flex the shit out of your tricep, and then try to pull with your bent arm and try to bend your straight elbow. That's going to kind of give you the sensation of what we want, right? The straight arm as you jump. I would probably go back to just learning the positions, right? Just work on doing the jump position with the straight arm. Make sure that you shrug to get really tall with the jump. And then slowly work it down from there. Make sure that you don't progress any further until you see that your elbows are straight.
Chase, how often are you cueing like an impact against the thigh or like a push/hit with the thigh? Do you ever use that as a strategy to kind of cue out either arm pull or like a muscle clean?
To be honest, I think that kind of incites an arm pull because they're so caught up in like, oh fuck, I have to touch, that they slow themselves down by
Yeah, they're
kind of
like
bending
pulling
their
it
arms
into
again.
their.
Yeah, if anything, I have to work on getting their knees out of the way and having the bar path be a lot more straighter.
Question from Mr. Dr. Sir. Who's the most gifted person you guys have coached, and what was that like?
Myself.
Y'all are gonna have much
and
better
it's very
answers.
unpleasant. Chase, I think by
I don't know.
definition, you're the most gifted person you have coached.
Yeah, I
You do
coach
your own
myself,
programming, so yeah.
Are we talking physically or like, IQ wise? Mathematically?
but IQ, no, I'm fucking retarded.
You like the guy from, what was it called? Edmund goes to school. What was it? What was his name?
Ernest goes to camp.
Ernest
Ernest,
goes to camp,
dude.
yeah.
Where the fuck are you getting
Ernest,
Edmund?
I don't know.
Edmund
I knew it started with an
sounds
E.
Wait, no,
shitty
Brits.
Australian
I'm not
name.
very
Yeah,
talented. I'm not
dude.
talented either. All right.
Trying to think, dude.
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
I've coached a lot of studs athletically. It is honestly weird for them to communicate difficulty because they're so used to having everything in their athletic career be like super smooth and super easy. So they can bail on a lift when it's like RPE 7 or like 3 reps in reserve and then being like, wow, that was like super weird. I don't know why that was slowing down so much. And you're like, it wasn't, trust me. So communicating difficulty for them is a little bit weird. And then I would say having to push their workloads a lot, meaning like, hey, you have the resources to take 10-pound jumps, we're only taking 5. You have the resources to add 5 more sets of work a week, but you don't want to. So like having them take advantage of their potential is kind of hard to do when you do get a stud. But like it is very fun to coach someone by literally just doing the movement like for a set of 5 and being like, can you do that? And they'll replicate it like 1-to-1. It is a pleasure.
I bet.
Mm.
I bet.
Yeah, it's the exact opposite of Alex Mitchell's experience in the the sarcopenic population.
I have a client who is like who's 72 now, and she's had a lot of injuries, but she's super duper talented, especially with the deadlift, and she's working on 250 right now, which will be like quite a good bit compared to her body weight. But with her it was really funny because I start all the clients off with like training bar plus 10s. If you're over 70 and you're deadlifting, you're getting training bar plus 10s until you prove otherwise, because I was burned too many times with some 70 something. Oh, they look fine, never had low back trouble, and you start them off with like 65 and they're like, oh, too heavy, or they're they go into a pain process or whatever it is. And we just kept on adding. Like it was like another hour before we found out where her starting weight was, because it was like, okay, not 35, okay, not 65, okay, not 105, okay. It was really fun. But she's pretty good.
Have you got any like kids, Chase, you've been training at Wichita Falls or Houston that are looking?
Yeah,
like
so if Rusty was on, we could both attest to this. There's a kid named Isaac. Came in string bean, man, just 100 pounds soaking wet. But this kid, he'd literally do everything that we told him, and he would grind nonstop. I remember this one time. I think this was either the second time or the first time that we started doing rack pulls, and I put on like 265 or 255, and he just was like wide-eyed. I can tell he was really nervous. I was like, dude, look, just set your back and push. That first one, fuck, man, it took like 5 seconds, and then it got progressively a little bit better, but it was like 5 seconds on the first rep, 4 seconds on the second rep, third on 3 seconds on the third, and then it was amazing seeing him push through it, and then watching everyone at the gym kind of stop and just watch Isaac rack pull. It's really cool, and he's still there. The times that I drop in, for like the seminar and stuff, I always see him and his dad. And this kid he was just like me, right? Always there. He's like the only kid working out, never missed, very consistent, and just a true workhorse.
Yeah,
How old is
dude.
Isaac now?
So he was in the 8th grade whenever he first came. So he's probably either a junior or a senior now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I actually just got my hands on a high school wrestler, a 17-year-old who's up north in Connecticut. It has been very interesting working with him so far, just to kind of like, just from going, he was like, I think he lifted for probably about like 9 months, just doing like bro stuff, just bodybuilding.com. But just kind
And
of like
you've continued that with him, have you?
And we have,
Yeah, of course.
the thing.
No, it was perfect programming, really,
I was
really
like,
well
oh my
thought out.
God.
I don't
I
need to
was
do
like, I
anything
gotta
with
check
this
out
guy.
this website. What is this called? But yeah, no. But seeing how quickly he's picking up some of like the rate, some of the more subtle adaptations that you take a longer time with an adult. So like one thing, if you take like a 40, 50-year-old guy or like a woman who hasn't trained much, What you'll notice is like that the knock knees and like shaking in the deadlift when a rep gets really hard, it can actually take months to sort that out. The same thing with someone who hasn't benched, unracking the bench press and having their whole arm shake to stabilize the load. For a lot of people, that adaptation to control that can literally take months neurologically. It's taken about like probably less than a month, maybe about like a week and a half to sort some of these things out with him, literally just from practicing. Like, oh, you have 5 practice sessions in, all of the shaking is gone, you know. I think there's a lot of that cool adaptation stuff when you get like a younger person in combination with an athletic person, that when they line up, you're like, wow, it's a cool experience.
I bet it is. I bet that's pretty cool.
It's a good question, actually.
Yeah.
That was a really good question.
I wish that was me, but
Oh yeah, me too. Oh man.
I think I might take a look at one more video. We're a bit ahead of time, so let's have a look at Keel Kenny.
press, squat.
I think I did ask this guy to send you another video because this angle isn't great.
I feel like
Joke's
we're
on
gonna see
you.
some
It's a
back
back press. Oh, dude, I'm almost
This
certain.
is going to be a this. Okay, no, never mind.
It was close.
We missed it.
Yeah,
It was close, dude. If depth was if he was at depth, you would have been right.
Yeah.
But he squatted high. He threw a curveball at you and squatted high.
Crack kills, man. Crack kills.
That's going to be the new squat cue. It's like we need to see butt crack.
I could tell you some stories. My God.
About what?
The things I've seen. Well, you got to remember, I started as a personal trainer in LA Fitness, and then I moved to Crunch Fitness. That was like a 4 or 5 year span. So, I've seen more man wiener than pretty much anyone else. It's really terrible.
Is that why you got into it, or just?
It was a happy accident. No, I never expected that. It was the most traumatizing thing about working at LA Fitness was just how much old man wiener you saw on a daily basis.
Who wants to take this one?
Kenny, man, your depth is fucking higher than Snoop Dogg. You got to you've got to shove out your knees, man. You have got to get a better bar position too, because it seems like you're kind of messing around with that. Like the grip is way too wide. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Try to get into a position to where your hands are narrower enough that you kind of have some trouble getting underneath the bar, meaning that you're staying tight. Your stance looks fairly, wide enough, so it's fine. But I think you just need to think about sending your ass back, shoving at your knees, and reaching down further than you think.
Yeah, I think this guy might be a really good candidate for what we talked about last stream with the shoulder flexibility stuff, because I think if he just hung for a couple of 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, he would probably be able to get into a much better position with his shoulders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A few things for that. I do like putting the upper body movement before the squat sometimes. If you have someone with who has a big history of shoulder injuries or some bony changes or coming out of surgery or anything like that, it's like you can do let's say your light pressing or your benching and your chin ups and everything before you get to the squat, so your shoulders are nice and warm, and then that rack position can be a lot more flattering. I think he may not know where depth is. I don't know how much the upper rack is limiting. So literally in between your sets, sit into a ass to grass as you can go bodyweight squat, just like they go through with the teaching progression. So hands together like you're going to pray, reach your elbows down in between your knees, and send your butt down as deep as you can, just so you can calibrate that position, because it seems like he thinks depth is 8 inches higher than it actually is.
That's such a good point, and it's something that so many people miss about the book, reading the book and whatever it is that squat stretch. If you need it, you should do it every single session for the first, maybe months of LP. It is such a good thing to get your brain to give your brain the idea of this is where I need to be and this is how I need to be in it.
Mm-hmm. Question from Stephen Lewis. What are the best angles to send for each lift in terms of videoing?
Ugh, I hate this question.
Yeah,
I hate
any
it because
angle at waist or higher. Just don't take them from the floor. From the floor, it's just rough.
Also, it's what do you want to see, right? There are angles where you can see the most of something, but it's everything's going to be good for some things, bad for others.
Yep.
Except for the floor.
Yeah. Waist height from behind or in front on a 45-degree angle, I think, is probably the best.
Usually.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot, fellas. Alex Koseri, where can people find you if they want to get some coaching?
I got a website. I'm on the SS Reddit. You can yell at me in either location if you want to argue about programming. I've had some trying incidents over the past 2 weeks where I've been like, should I pay for a plane ticket for this guy? Like, I want to go back to America to meet this person in the street and have a fight with them over programming for arbitrary lifts on the internet. But yeah, if you want to argue with me
That's
about
on you,
programming, you
Alex.
can find me on either one of those locations.
Yeah.
It's
but,
terrible.
I do a lot of online coaching, so hit me up if you need that.
Yep. Alex Mitchell, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me in Sandy Springs, Georgia, Sandy Springs, Atlanta, Georgia, and you can find me at StrongerNowGym.com. I also do online programming through Barbell Logic, so hit me up if you'd want to get on my roster. I train mostly, as has been said multiple times here, I train mostly people who are over the age of 65 or are experiencing particular, medical conditions or who are medically fragile, such that going to like a Globo gym would be contraindicated. So if you have some stuff that a lot of people aren't really comfortable dealing with, if you're diagnosed with cystic fibrosis or you're coming back from cancer treatment or whatever it may be, send me an email, and even if nothing else, I'd love to help in any way I can, give you some tips.
Yep. Chase, do you want to talk to anyone? Do you want people to approach you in the street? DM
Sure,
you?
I mean, I don't
Instagram?
Good
care.
luck!
You can just find me at Chase Lindley on Instagram.
Yep.
Y'all can DM me questions. I get some random shit. Like the other day, I got a DM about some guy he had plotted. I guess I don't know how long of a time period, but my PRs. And he's like, "Hey man, I did this for you." I'm like, "Thanks." I don't know what to say, but
What did you do?
it's kind of cool.
You can hang this
So
up
he
on
had
your
plotted.
fridge.
Yeah, he sent me. It's like this
Like
link.
he
I was like,
he
oh, fuck, it's
Instagram
probably
stalked
porn or
you
something.
and went back and like found every day that you did
yeah.
a PR and
Yeah, so like, or just PRs of whatever I posted, and it's like, at one time I was doing a program where I'm doing a top single and then a back off 5 sets of 5. So like, I had the top single over here, so it's like 550, and then 600, and it just so on and so on. It did it for the squat, press, and deadlift.
How did Phoebe
That
feel
is
about
awesome. That's
That-
great commitment.
that? What did Phoebe say?
I mean, that's cool. I mean, that guy. I was thank you, but I mean, it doesn't
Also,
really
that's a little
matter to
creepy.
me.
yeah.
Chase is
Yeah.
doing online coaching. You just have to send him precious metals. So he doesn't accept United States currency anymore. But if you want to send
Exactly.
him gold or
If
silver,
y'all have
Isn't that just the
cesium?
case for
yeah.
Yeah.
anyone in Texas? I thought that was just Texas.
legal tender over there.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
They got
Wait,
off the. They're back on the gold standard.
What did Phoebe say when you told
Mm-hmm.
her that some guy's been plotting all of your PRs?
I don't think she knows about it. I gotta show her though.
Yeah, I'd like to.
I mean, there's some. There was one where I got into an argument with the guy. He's like,
Yes.
fuck, what was it? It was something about programming. He's like, so do you or does Ripito know nothing about advanced programming? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, in practical programming, there's not enough advanced programming templates. I'm like, no. What practical programming is trying to show you is the step-by-step changing of variables to then progress your programming, right? The templates are in there for just examples. They're not what you need to do. And he goes, oh. I'm like, yeah, go back and read it, and you'll see that, one, there's not really that many advanced people that we deal with, so the programming scope is limited, and those that do are mainly using the two hotbed ones of like RPE and 531.
Yeah. This is so funny that we landed here because I wanted to bring this up and I didn't. But I would love to ask you guys a question about programming and specifically people who read PPST and do exactly what Chase is talking about. And either they just totally misunderstand it either way, and they think that the template is like the writings of Muhammad or whatever, and they try to work through the template and try to worship it and all that kind of stuff and won't be swayed against it.
Unironically, it's just it's sort of like how we and most people espouse the virtues of the deadlift. from the standard range of motion, despite that range of motion being arbitrary. It's based off of like the plate manufacturers.
Literally
All
like
plate
8 inches
manufacturers
just came out
were
of
like,
nowhere.
hey, it's now
Yeah.
10.5 inches. Everyone would be like, oh, it's 10.5 inches. People think
Yep.
that programming is a template-based thing because in the early days of programming and still now, people sell templates. So
Yep.
people think that programming is done via templates as an artifact of the industry.
Yep.
Programming, it's like you are learning how to optimize and game a system of stimulus and response, and it's a little bit different for everybody. And you're just trying to learn the principles, which is, the point of practical programming and all the other books out there. But it's literally just like people see templates, and if they're not looking at programming from that lens or from that viewpoint, they think it literally is. It's kind of like this weird sort of like puzzle piece / like kind of just kind of connect the dots. I'll just do the template and then I'll have my results from it. And it's great from a business perspective, because like some powerlifter who's like, he can just be like, oh, buy my deadlift program for my 12-week deadlift program for $4.99. And it's like, okay, great. You have like a pretty basic like deadlift heavy block with a little taper at the end. That's super cool. Like, what do you want to do with that when people are supposed to be training for, 50 years? It's like, are you just going to run what? So 50 years, you're going to run 5 to 6 templates a year. So you're like, well, I only have about 210 templates to get through before I die. So, that's my training
model.
career.
I might just take the app off the store.
No,
and start selling templates.
Exactly.
And that's part of the problem is that it is very profitable to just write something up in 10 minutes and sell it for $40 a pop, and you sell 300 of them and boom. I mean, that was 10 minutes of work. So I'd do it. I get it, but it doesn't work, unfortunately. Like programming is, as Kay said, so extremely individualized after a certain point. I mean, we start an LP because that's a beautiful base. It gives you a really good picture of like what organism you're looking at here, and a really good baseline of 90 days of what this organism looks like when you apply stress in this particular way. But after that, all bets are off. I mean, the changes you make are going to be specific to what has happened in those 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, on that note, let's wrap it up there, fellas. Thanks a lot for your time, everyone. Thanks for everyone that submitted a video and left some comments and questions. And we'll catch you all next week.
All right. See you, boys.
Thank you.